Namaskar, Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. So, welcome you all to the satsang today. So, as it is already time, we will start. Let us do the prarthana. By the Guru's grace and by the will of Shri Krishna, we have all assembled for this Gita satsang. May we have their guidance to be able to learn and adopt the things which will help us to grow spiritually. Let us chant the prayers. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Haraye Paramatmane Pranata Klesha Nashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Namostu te Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Kullara Vindaya Tapatra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha. So today we will take up the next 3 shlokas. Shobha, will you be saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Atra Shudra Maheshvasa Bhimarjuna Samayudhi Yuyudhano Viratascha Drupadascha Maharataha Drishtaketinaha Kashirajascha Viryavan Purujit Kunti Bojascha Shaibyascha Narapungavaha Yudhamanyuscha Vikranta Uttamaujascha Viryavan Saubhadro Draupadeyascha Sarva Eva Maharataha.
Thank you very much. So we will proceed now to the understanding of this. Ramanujataya Patram Jnana Vairagya Bhushanam Srimad Venkatanathāryam Vande Vedanta Deshikam Yo Nityam Achyuta Padambuja Yugma Rukma Vyamohatastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmad Gurur Bhagavatosya Dayaika Sindho Ramanujasya Charanau Sharanam Prapadye. So with prayers to the Acharyas, let us take up the next shlokas. So if you remember, in the last shloka, we had talked about how Duryodhana moves towards Dronacharya and tells him that, see this army of the Pandavas, which has been arranged by your intelligent disciple, who is the son of Drupada. So now, as he goes further, these 3 shlokas, we have taken them together because in all these 3 shlokas, Duryodhana is actually describing all the warriors who are on the side of the Pandavas. Right? So he says, Atra Shura. So all the Shura people, all the courageous, all the great warriors, Maheshvasa, who are equal to Bhima and Arjuna. Bhima Arjuna Samayudhi. They are equal in caliber to Bhima and Arjuna. So who are those people? Yuyudhana is one of them. Virata is one more. Drupada is one more. All these are Maharathas. Then there is another warrior called Drishtaketu. There is somebody called Chekitana. Then there is Kashi, the Raja of Kashi, who is there. All these are highly valorous people. Viryavan. They are all full of Virya. Then there is somebody called Purujit. There is somebody called Kunti Bhoja. There is somebody called Shaibya. All these are, very eminent warriors who are there. Then there is Yudhamanyu. Then there is Uttamauja. Then there is Saubhadro. Saubhadro means the son of Subhadra. We know that Lord Krishna's sister was Subhadra and she was married to Arjuna. So they had a son whom we know was the very, young and yet highly competent, very good fighter, that is Abhimanyu. Then Draupadeya, so that the sons of Draupadi. Now Draupadi was married to all the Pandavas. So with the Pandavas, with Arjuna, with Yudhishthira and everybody, she had sons. So those 5 sons of Draupadi, they are also there, and all of these are Maharathas. They have all come and they are all ready to fight, standing on the side of the Pandavas. So these shlokas talk about all these warriors. So when we go further to see about all these things, I have just written here whatever I told you just now in words. So there are many powerful warriors. All this he is explaining. Who is explaining? Duryodhana is telling to Dronacharya. Now, everywhere he is saying, no, Maharatha, Maharatha. So, what exactly is the meaning of Maharatha? So, there are certain terminologies which were being used with respect to the type of warrior who was involved in the fighting. So, Athiratha is the word which is refers to a warrior who can fight with one more person against somebody who is in a chariot. Ratha is chariot. So Athiratha means this person can fight against one warrior who is in a chariot. Then there is something called Ardharatha, where this person can fight with multiple warriors who are there in different chariots at the same time. So such a kind of warrior used to be called as an Ardharatha. Then there is somebody who is called as a Maharatha. Now here, when in all these shlokas, Duryodhana is describing all these people as Maharatha. So who is a Maharatha? Somebody who can fight with 10,000 warriors all at once. Right? So such a person is called as Maharatha. And all the warriors, all these people who are described in these 3 shlokas, they are all Maharathas. That means you can imagine how high is their capability. They are very capable of inflicting lot of damage on the Kaurava army. So he is describing all of them. And he is in fact surprised that they have all come to support the Pandavas. Now, why did all these great warriors come to support the Pandavas? Why did they not go to the side of the Kauravas? Because they were the kind of warriors whom we are talking about here. They are all people who always stuck with Dharma. So since Pandavas were on the side of Dharma, these warriors came to support the Pandavas. Now, what are the points in this shloka that we can understand a little more about? So now Duryodhana, he has moved towards Dronacharya and he is describing this Pandava army, right? So why does he describe them first? Why isn't he talking about his own army? Why is he talking about the Pandava side? Now it could be 2 things. Firstly, now in that previous shloka, he has said that, oh, Acharya, see how your intelligent disciple has arranged this Pandava army. So since he's talking about the Pandavas already, it could be that he's continuing to, point out warriors from the Pandava side. Other factor is that many times, whatever we talk about, it is a reflection of the thoughts which are running in our head, isn't it? So he is having a lot of fear in his mind, seeing all these great warriors on that side. So that is why, because that thought is uppermost in his mind, so he talks about those people first. Now, we know that through many instances in the Mahabharata, we have seen how Duryodhana is a very arrogant kind of person. So he is the kind of person who, with his huge ego, will always think only of himself first, right? So here, if he is describing the other side, now normally when we talk about something, describing the other people first or introducing other people first and then giving our own introduction, that is the normal protocol that is followed. Now, if we think that Duryodhana, okay, he's a very courteous person, and that is why he's following this protocol, that is not likely to be true. Because in many instances, Duryodhana always acts with a lot of arrogance. But here, because the fear about the other side is there so much in his mind, so he's talking about them first. And you notice the words that he uses. He says, all these Maharathas are Bhimarjuna Samayudhi. So as soon as he sees them, the first people who come to his mind are Bhima and Arjuna only, because Bhima is a very powerful person and Arjuna is a very skilled person. So that is the reason why the fear in Duryodhana's mind is uppermost about these 2 people, and he says all the warriors are equal to these 2 people. So he is actually very, very terrified now about what is going to be the outcome of this battle. Now we know about Bhima, how from a very young age he has had one after the other experience, and being the son of Vayu, he is so extremely powerful. In fact, there's an incident which is narrated where once it is told that Kunti Devi was sitting with this Bhima when he was a baby still. Okay, with Bhima, she was sitting in her lap. Bhima was in her lap and she was sitting somewhere. Suddenly, she heard the sound of a tiger roaring and she saw one tiger moving about in the distance. And she got so scared that she suddenly stood up. So when she stood up suddenly, it is said that Bhima fell on a stone. Now, what we will expect when a baby falls on a rock, we expect that the baby will get hurt and blood will flow out from the baby's body and it will be totally, damaged. But here, on the contrary, what happened? It was the rock which cracked, and Bhima was perfectly fine and gurgling and happily laughing. So at that, from that infancy itself, he was a very powerful person. Then we know of the experience where Duryodhana had tried to poison Bhima and given him some poisoned food and thrown him into the water. And then he went to the Nagaloka, and then the snakes bit him. So the poison of the snake counteracted the poison which was in the food which was given to Bhima. And those snakes said, "You are our distant relative," and they in fact gave him, Amrita to drink. So he was very, very powerful with all that potency of his. Naturally, Duryodhana is scared of him. Now it was told that Duryodhana and Bhima were very equal in Gada Yuddha. They were fighting with the Gada, fighting with the mace. So, and yet Duryodhana always was scared because Bhima had taken a vow that he is going to kill all these 100 brothers who had dared to insult Draupadi. So that is why here, when he says all these Maharathas, they are sama, they are equal to Bhima and Arjuna. So again, he's showing what all fear is there in his mind. So he is talking about all these warriors. Now we said all of them have come. So from that, we can understand one thing, that always when somebody is on the side of Dharma, then support will come towards them from some or the other directions. Now, in a battle, when there is a war going to take place, there can be different factors on which the outcome will depend, isn't it? But we normally think that if there are very capable warriors, if there are strong men, strong fighters, people who are highly trained and skilled, then they will be the ones who are going to win. Or if they are larger in number, the army which is bigger is the one who is going to win. But it is not only this factor which matters. In cases like this yuddha, where it is a dharma yuddha, then the most important question that is going to be, deciding the outcome is who is fighting on the side of dharma, who is the dharmic side, and who is the side of adharma. So that the people who are on the side of dharma are the ones who are going to win that battle. For example, if we take, right, the example of our own freedom struggle of our country, when we see that we didn't have any weapons. In fact, Gandhiji gave us the weapon of non-violence. We were not even going to use any kind of violence. And yet, at the end, that mighty British Empire had to, bow down and they had to go away, leaving us. So even in that case, Dharma was on our side. And fighting on the side of, because we were on the side of Dharma, we managed to win that battle, isn't it? So like this, there are many examples. Let us take an older example, that of the Ramayana. Now, when Rama went in search of Sita, he had to destroy Ravana. Wasn't it going to be possible for Rama to do it on his own? Of course, he was Sakshat Lord Narayana who had incarnated. But yet, he took this human form and then he went along with the Vanaras. He befriended the monkeys and they came to support him. The squirrels came to support him. The bears, Jambavan and all his followers, they came to support Lord Rama. So in that example also, we see that they were not very highly trained or skilled or capable or anything. But why was it that that side, the Vanara side, won? Because they were on the side of Rama, because they were on the side of Dharma. That is the essence of what we can learn about all these battles. There is this shloka, a subhashita actually, which explains the entire essence of the Ramayana. And if we keep this in our mind, then we will know how our choice should be made in any situation. Right? It says, Yanti Nyaya Pravrittasya Tiryanchopi Sahayatam Apanthanam tu Gachantam Sodaropi Vimunchate. When somebody is on the path of Nyaya, somebody is following the path of Dharma, then even the Tiryak, even the animals, even the beasts are all going to help that person. But if somebody is on the wrong path, on the path of injustice, and they are going on the wrong track, then even their own brother will abandon them. And this, exactly in a nutshell, is what we see in the Ramayana, isn't it? Rama was on the path of Dharma, and all the Vanaras, all the bears, everybody came to support Rama. And Ravana, I hope I said that right. Rama was on the path of Dharma. So all the Vanaras, everybody came to support Rama. And Ravana was on the wrong path and he was doing something totally wrong. His own brother, Vibhishana, deserted him and went away to the other side. So this is something we must remember as being the most important factor that decides who wins in a battle. Now, we said that all these people we talked about, right? Drishtaketu, Chekitana, all these people, we said they are Maharatha. They are all Maharathis. So, although they may be Maharathis, but Duryodhana on his side, he has, the most greatest of warriors who are greater than all these Maharathis. All these Maharathis who are described here, totally, if you put them together, still their capacity will not be equal to the caliber of Bhishma or one single Drona. Now, Duryodhana is having Bhishma on his side, he's having Drona on his side, he's having Ashwatthama on his side, he is having Karna on his side, and yet he is scared seeing all these other warriors. Why? Again, we come back to the same point that he knows he is on the path of adharma. He knows he is not on the right track. And because of that, he is worried about what will be the outcome of this battle. So, what we can learn from these shlokas, what we can try to understand to adopt in our life, right? So, whenever there is a fight, then who stands to fight on either side is not so important. But what are they standing for? That is the most important fact. So we must make sure that in our life, whenever there are some large conflicts which are there, we must make sure that we stand on the side of Dharma. We must be on the right track, and always we must support the ones who are following the right track. Second thing, fear in the mind. Duryodhana was scared. Why is that fear coming? It comes from a guilty conscience. So, when we feel guilty, when we do something wrong, to the outside world, we may pretend that we have done everything right. But deep within, our own conscience will keep telling us that this is not right. You are not doing the right thing. We tend to stifle that voice. We suffocate that voice of our conscience. And we keep doing something which we think is going to be good for us. But by doing such acts which are actually not correct, we are not going on the right track. And somewhere the punishment for that will reach us. So we must remember that whenever our conscience pricks us and raises, we start feeling that, am I doing the right thing? Then at that time, we must make sure that we listen to that voice of our conscience and avoid doing the wrong things so that we can keep the guilt away. We may have less assets in our life. We may have less belongings in our life. We may not be able to achieve very great, big, big things. But it is okay. We will have the contentment which is necessary for having a peaceful night's sleep. When we do wrong, then that guilt keeps eating away at us, and there is no any end to the fear which will start building in our mind. So that can happen when we stay on the right path. So we must also have faith that God is there to protect us and to develop that faith. See, many times we think we are going to take care of ourselves. I have to do this for my future. I have to do this for my protection. I have to make myself secure. We are all in this rush to create security for ourselves, isn't it? So we think that security comes from having a large bank balance. We think that security comes from having a lot of property. Or we think that if financially, if we are secure, everybody talks about getting settled in life. What do they mean by getting settled in life? Making assets, making money, having a family, having children, taking care of your children, and making sure that everybody is in good situation. That we think of as settlement. And to do that, we are ready to sometimes go to any extent to make sure that we have financial security. But in reality, that kind of security is never a reliable factor. There are so many things that can go wrong, isn't it? We have seen so many examples of people who had so much but then lost it all within a second. We have seen the examples of these floods or of an earthquake or of some natural calamity which comes, or there'll be times when the bank only will, go bankrupt. Then things like this, when they happen, we understand that what we thought was our security is actually not permanent. It cannot give us that sense of, being protected. But if we work to develop faith in God, if we work and put efforts to develop the shraddha that God is there and He is going to take care of me, then the Lord can find any which way to protect us, isn't it? I think in one of the previous satsangs we had talked about how there was a stone, and then Shivaji Maharaj, his guru, asked him to move that stone away. And there, in one tiny corner, there was one small worm which was growing, although it was in such a bad situation where it could not have got food, and yet God had taken care of it. So, similarly, if the Lord can protect that tiny worm which is hiding under a rock, He can definitely protect me also. He will. He's waiting to protect me. He's there. The only thing we need to do is we need to let Him protect us. Many times we go on acting, we go on performing all our actions with the thought that I am taking care of myself. Till I think I am taking care of myself, the Lord will not step in. The minute I raise my hands in surrender and say, I can no longer manage, you are the one who has to protect me, the next moment He will be there to protect us. That very moment He will come rushing. We have seen examples of how Gajendra was fighting with that crocodile for so many thousands and thousands of years, and it kept trying to free itself. The minute it realized that it is not possible for me and only Lord has to protect, and called out saying Adi Mula, at that time the Lord rushed there. So like this, we must work on developing this kind of a security that God is going to protect me. This faith we have to develop. And how will we develop that faith? Only when our antaranga, when our antakarana gets purified. And how that purification will happen, how we will cleanse. We have so many papas, we have so many karmas that we have done, we have so many vasanas. There is so much dirt sitting in our mind. How will we purify our mind? How will we purify our inner being? Only by constantly remembering the Lord, constant namasmaran, and being in satsang, always listening to the Lord's stories, always hearing of His glories. These are the factors which are going to act as purifying agents. So we know the nature of fire, isn't it? Whether you put your hand into the fire knowing that fire is going to burn, or a little baby puts his hand to fire, he doesn't know the fire will burn. But the fire will burn, isn't it? Anything which is touched by the fire will burn it. So it doesn't matter whether you knowingly do put your hand in the fire or unknowingly put your hand in the fire, it will burn, right? So similarly, this namasmaran and satsanga, whether you are doing it with lot of faith or you are doing it mechanically, many times we find that we are not able to concentrate, we are not able to focus our mind on God mechanically, routinely, without really thinking about it. We may be saying some, namajapa, or we may be saying some bhajans or singing something. So never mind, till all our strong papa goes away, it will be like that only. Then at some point of time, when little more cleansing has happened, we will start developing the concentration. We will start feeling some bhakti within us. At that point of time, we will continue to do with more faith. But until that stage comes, we have to at least put in some minimum effort. So by constantly doing namasmaran, by trying to be in satsang, by trying to read about the glories of God, by hearing the katha of Lord, by thinking constantly about these things as much as possible, we will get purified. And when we get purified, then we will be able to really feel secure in the true sense. So these are some of the things that we can understand from these shlokas. That who is there on which side. Duryodhana is talking about all the Maharathas. He is describing that they are as great as Bhima and Arjuna. And he's talking about all that. Why? Because he's afraid in his mind. Where that fear comes from from his guilty conscience that he's going to get punished. Why he has guilty conscience? Because he has done wrong. And because of that, he is worried about the outcome. So for us, the lesson to learn here is that if we try to avoid doing wrong, we will avoid the sense of guilt. And when the guilt is not there, then fear will not be there in our mind. And the best way to avoid going on the wrong path is to try and go on the right path. And how we will go on the right path? By constantly remembering God and thinking about him and hearing of his glories and stories. So that is the message that we can take from the shloka for today. So if there is anybody who has any question to ask or anything to share regarding whatever we discussed today, then you are most welcome to please unmute and you can say whatever you want to. Yes, anybody has anything that they want to share?
Even though they have the fear about the failure in future, they continued to fight. They continued their war each day. So who supported this? Being known that they face a failure.
No, they had decided that they are going to fight, right? So fear was there in their mind, no doubt, in Duryodhana's mind. But
for sure, they know that they are going to fail.
No, we can't say that they know. Somewhere there is a hope in their mind that they will win, because they are thinking logically also that we have all these great warriors on our side. We have Bhishma, we have Drona, we have Karna, right? So they have made up their mind that they are going to do whatever it may be that is necessary to win. So they have used wrong methods also. They killed Abhimanyu by surrounding him. They so many people together. It is against the rules of war to fight against, for many people to fight against one person, right? So they all pounced on him at the same time and they killed Abhimanyu. Then this Ashwatthama went and killed all the Pandavas' sons. So they did so many things which were wrong, and they tried every single thing that they could so that they could win. But ultimately they did not. That is because they were on the side of adharma. You remember in the last session we talked about how Duryodhana's attitude was, that he says that janami dharmam nachame pravritti, janam adharmam nachame nivritti. So that tendency is like that. They are so full of all the negativity that although they know what is right, they can't do the right thing. They can't get themselves to follow the right path. And although they know that what is wrong, still they can't stop doing that, isn't it? So in fact, it is told that to be able to do sadhana also, to be able to go on the right path also, we need God's blessings. I can't think that I am understanding and I am taking the decision and I am going on the right path, or so I am a great person. No, that ability to see and discriminate between what is right and what is wrong, the ability to stick to the right path, all that also God's blessings only are there. So in fact, it is told sometimes that, if somebody is repeatedly doing wrong and, in spite of people giving them advice and in spite of people trying to teach them to go on the right way, still they continue doing wrong, then it is said that those people are actually, God must be having some anger against them. All the papas that they have done in all Purva Janmas, because of that, they are not even able to get the grace of the Lord. That also is told. So I think there is something in the Valmiki Ramayana where they call Ravana Kala Choditaha, that even time deserted Ravana because he was so full of negative things that everybody who tried to advise him, first Maricha tried to advise that don't go and kidnap Sita. Then Vibhishana tried to advise that you should not, you give Sita back, send her back to Rama. So many there were some other voices of reason also. His own wife Mandodari tried to advise him, and yet he was so much, on the other side. He was so filled with the wrong tendency that people are advising the right thing to be done, but he's not able to go to that side. He still continues to say that I am only correct. So what else will you say for such a person? God also has forsaken them. God also has not stood on their side, isn't it? So to be able to do the right thing, we think we are going to decide and we are going to follow the right path and all that. But actually, we need God's grace to be able to do that also. That is why we must constantly pray and thank Him if we are in a state where we are able to think of God, if we are in a stage where we regularly pray, if we are in a stage where we try to remember Him more and more, then that has come because of His grace on us only. So we must always be thankful that, oh God, you have taken care of me so much. Continue to take care of me. And God knows what all I am doing wrong, even now, unknowingly. You please make sure that, all my wrongdoings become less. You give me that Viveka. You take me on the right path. We should pray like that. I hope that answered your question, Shobhavre.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And Namasmaran, by constantly chanting the names of the Lord, all our daily sins will also vanish.
Yeah. The Nama is so strong. It will, destroy your sin. More importantly, when you keep chanting, because that cleansing is happening, so the tendency to do more wrong will also start reducing. If we are not doing Namasmarana and we are just leading our normal life, then we will keep making mistakes here and there. We will keep doing wrong here and there. But when the purification process starts, when we are chanting God's name, that chanting will start destroying whatever papa karmas we are having. And because those are getting destroyed, then gradually we are becoming cleaner and cleaner. So when we are becoming cleaner, the wrong tendencies, the negative desires, the negative tendencies in our mind will be destroyed one by one. So that desire to do the wrong thing or the tendency of doing the wrong thing will also start disappearing. So less and less you will do wrong. Not that one side I will keep doing wrong. So because of this, we can't say that, okay, I will just continue doing whatever I'm doing and let the Namasmarana take care of it. Then what will happen? All the power of the Namasmarana will only go in nullifying the wrong that you are doing, isn't it? So we must consciously also make efforts to do the right thing and we must keep doing Namasmarana. Then gradually over time, the wrongdoings will start reducing on their own. That is how it works, that process. Anything else anybody has to say, to share? Okay, in that case, what we will, yeah, I think we know the story of Ajamila, no? Everybody knows the story of Ajamila. So in that story also we can see actually that Ajamila was a Brahmana and he was a very pious person and doing all his duties, and as told in the Vedas, he was following everything perfectly. One day he happened to see um, what you say, a scene which provoked the sense pleasure in him. He saw one immoral woman in a relation with another man, and seeing that, he got provoked and he developed the desire that he also should enjoy that woman. He brought that woman home, he kept her, he drove away his wife and children, his parents died. Then he got into all kinds of bad activities, and finally at the time of his death, the Yamadutas came there. Now he had one baby whom he had named as Narayana. Somehow we don't know, by some Purva Janma karma, at that moment of naming, he had named that child Narayana. So when he was about to die, he could see the Yamadutas came there, and he knows he is about to die. He got scared, and in that fear of losing and going away from this child, he called out Narayana, he said. At that moment, the Vishnu Dutas appeared there. And they told the Yamadutas, you can't take this soul away. So they said, why? He has done so much wrong in all his life. We have been sent by Yama here to bring this man to Naraka. Then the Vishnu Dutas told him, no, but he has uttered the name of Narayana. So these Yamadutas went back to Yama and they said that, what is this? Is this true that you have no power over these people who are saying the name of the Lord? then Yama calls them close, and very as if he's telling a secret, he says, yeah, that is true. You can go and bring anybody to Naraka, but somebody who is a bhakta of Vishnu, a bhakta of Narayana, don't you even dare to go near to them, he says first. Then in fact, he corrects himself and he says, no, not like that. If you happen to meet such a person who is a Vishnu bhakta, then do one thing. Don't throw your noose over him. You can't bring him to Naraka. But do one pradakshina around such a person and you come back. You will also get some punya from that, he tells them. So it is told that the one who is chanting the Lord's name, whether now Ajamila at the time of his death, he didn't knowingly out of bhakti chant God's name. He didn't even mean to call out to the Lord. He called out to his son in that blind attachment for the son. But because just the utterance of the name of the Lord brought the Vishnu Dutas and prevented him from going to Naraka. So if such is the case, then for us also, we have also done so many wrong things. Knowingly, unknowingly, we do wrong. Similarly, knowingly, unknowingly, if we take God's name, then God will come and protect us. So unknowingly, when we say, like even if you actually, in our Sanatana Dharma, in our Hindu way of life, the culture was to name children after the names of God, isn't it? We used to give God's names, Devi's names to the girls and the Lord's name to the boys. So that whenever you call out your child also, you're calling out the name of God. Right? So that is the whole idea. Whether you know and you say the name, you say with some other intention. In jest, if you say the name, laughing, making a joke, you say God's name. In anger, you say God's name. Whatever way you say God's name, it is said the Lord is so kind that he is sitting, writing down how many times this fellow took my name. He doesn't bother about whether with meaning, without meaning, in a good way, in a bad way. What way you said the Lord's name doesn't matter. But that you said the name, that will be written in your favor. So that is why if without having bhakti, without having any good intention, if saying God's name can give us so much benefit, then can we even imagine how much the Lord will be happy, how much he will love it if we are going to say with bhakti, with love, with affection, we call out to him. So let us remember that always and try and increase the amount of namasmarana that we are doing. So it is now going to be time. So let us offer gratitude, kritagnyata. Let us offer gratitude and kritagnyata at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and Guru for inspiring us to start and to join this satsang. And let us pray for their blessings and grace to always be on us. Thank you. Namaskar. Thank you everybody for joining in and making this satsang such a wonderful experience.
Thank you, Ansuya ji.
Thank you everybody. Namaste.
Thank you, Ansuya.
Yeah, we will meet again. Thank you, Ma. We will meet again next Tuesday as usual at 6:50. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you, Ma.
Thank you.